Oh. My prayer was, you know, I had it my day. Is it? Everything else is fine.
Yeah, I want to see what.
Yeah. All right, it's 7:00. Meeting to order. Join for the pledge of allegiance if you choose. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Finley here. Lewis, present. Thank you. Hill, present.
Yep.
Ward.
So, Nancy called in and Bernice. Done. Okay. So, we have a quorum. Can I get a motion on the agenda? Support. Support. No, okay. All right, so, we have one amendment. Pretty. Put the retainer agreement on the desk. So I'd like to add it as under new business O, which would be the dental wet, contract and retention. Any objections to that?
That's 11 under the business.
No, oh,
11 of, thank you.
any other oversights or changes? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as amended, say aye. And then approving the minutes. We have January 12th. Special meeting, can I get a motion on that? Support. Any changes by anybody? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have January 17th, can I get a motion on that?
Some,
Support. Any changes, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. And the February 6th minutes, can you get a motion on February 6th? Or
yeah, well, yes, like,
okay, any changes of state submissions? All in favor of approving, the 6th special meeting, say aye. Okay, thank you for care of that. And moves us to citizen participation, this time the citizens, comment to the board regarding anything on the agenda, or anything relating to township business, but we have a long agenda tonight, so we're gonna ask you to hold to 3 minutes. Is there anybody who would like to make a comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Steve Preston. How you doing? We live over on County Ridge Drive, 3979 County Ridge Drive. And this is in regard to a letter we received in the mail 2 weeks ago from Garrett's Space. I don't know if you're familiar with.
from where?
Garrett's Space.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, it's a proposal for rezoning, the land at 33900 North Dixboro Road to a mental health facility, to treat, young adults who are, possibly suicidal. And I'm just here to, express my concern, on the proposed facility. It abuts the rear of our lot. My family moved here, recently for the land, peace, and most importantly, safety in this community, to raise our kids in a safe community. When we received this letter, we were shocked, and devastated at the idea of a mental health facility being placed in the middle of our residential community. We will no longer feel safe raising our children, knowing that there's a mental health facility behind our home. The safety, peace of mind that we currently have will be gone. Simple things, turning the lights off at night to go to bed, letting the kids play in the backyard, letting them adventure in the woods as kids like to do, will no longer be simple. We've already discussed the possibility of moving, and we literally just moved into our brand new home 3 months ago. We put our savings into the land, the construction. We most certainly sustain a loss on the sale if it were to happen. And there will most certainly be a decrease in the property value as well. It puts us as parents in a compromised position. We plan on living here for the next 20 years until they're well out of school. We are strongly opposed to the idea of Garrett's Space mental health facility going into this location. I can also speak on behalf of the board members of our association on Flooding Ridge. They are strongly opposed as well, and they're deeply concerned with the proposal of that space being used for medical services. So you're aware, there are other concerns as well that communicated with via conversation, person-to-person and email exchange in the community. And also just so you're aware, we have prepared a letter that you should be expecting to receive from our association as soon as tomorrow illustrating my concern in more detail. And I just wanted to make the board well aware of our concerns, our family's concerns of this proposal.
Just address the letter to the township clerk, so she may properly receive it.
Okay,
And if you drop it off, you can just drop it off to the clerk, or if you mail it to.
And
Okay.
did we get your name, sir?
yeah, my name's Steve Preston.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep, thank you for your time.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to address? Matt, go ahead.
Echo his concerns. I would question whether that rezoning matches the master plan. I mean, that the property is under the way it is for some reason, checking against the master plan would be an interesting.
Oh, yeah, we looked into it. I just, briefly wanted to address our.
Okay, this is.
I mean, you guys are gonna have to discuss.
So I express my concern as well. My name is Matt Schuster. I reside at 5766 Getty Road. I've appeared before the board on numerous occasions. I appreciate the opportunity to speak again with the board tonight. I've lived at my home for over 18 years, moved here for the Center for Community and Safety. I have concerns about development going on both on my parcel and the neighbor's parcel. I appeared last at the board and was expressing concern about construction without a permit. Happy to let the board know that there has been a stop work order issued. It's on my parcel and lists my parcel address. It does not list who actually received any notices or anything else about the stop work order. I'm happy to see that it was issued in compliance with the state construction code. But I just want to bring your attention to it. I printed out copies for your review. I mean, the picture of the wall that have been standing for over 8 months in that current state, so nothing changed on February 8th that caused the issue of the stop work order. It just it seems like the township finally got into the government with the finding of the construction board of appeals in Washington County that construction was not covered by any of the permit, and they finally decided to tag it. I wanted to express concern because I have been trying to communicate with the township, including by voicemail and by email. Sent a letter which I copied the board on to the township zoning administrator, who was tasked with enforcing the zoning ordinance. I know the stop work order didn't say anything about zoning with that; it just says state construction code. So it's also in default of the zoning ordinance. And so I wrote a detailed, given the best detailed communication with the zoning administrator, asking for guidance, because for these walls to persist, two things can happen: either the wall can be removed from their construction without a permit, or a permit needs to be issued. For a permit to be issued for the zoning ordinance, there has to be a application for the building permit and also an application for a certificate of zoning approval. Neither of which have happened. Both are supposed to be done by the owner, which is me for this parcel. So I'm very confused and concerned about how this is going to proceed and play out here. And the stop work order has been in place for, I think it's a week and a half or 10, 11 days. And I've had no communication of any sort as to what has happened with this. Make you aware of it, because in the second page after that notice, the 4th page, the township board is ultimately responsible for enforcement of the zoning board. Your job to help the township effectively introduce ordinances and administer them. And I went through and highlighted sections of the ordinance that are very clear. If there is construction without a building permit, where a building permit is required, as this case, 7.5 foot, 6 foot wall, and 4.5 foot wall, it requires a building permit, and that is a zoning infraction to have construction without a building permit.
Hi, Matt.
Oh, that's my time. Thank you. Please do it.
Is there anyone else who wishes to comment to the board tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Haley Brett. I think most of you are familiar with me. I've worked for Congresswoman Debbie Dingle's office, and just stopping by, I'm kind of doing like little, stop in and read under township at the moment, so please do reach out to me anytime.
Thank you, Haley. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll move on with our agenda. Presentations and public hearings. We do have presentations tonight by OHM on the water system master plan, the reliability study, the Getty Road pathway, the TAP grant project status and milestones, and the ADA grant project status and clarification. So which one are you going to handle?
So the first presentation on the water master plan, our project manager, Chris Ellenboss, is here, and also Ricky Harding is here from the utilities department. We're going to run through a summary of the water master plan, which we completed late last year, was submitted to Eagle in early January. Just a quick introduction. the water master plan is required by Eagle every 10 years. Water reliability study of the public water system is required by Eagle every 5 years. So what we did is we combined the two together into one study, and we wanted to give the board and the residents a quick overview of the update. So I'll let Chris take over.
Thanks, George. Appreciate being here tonight. So just a quick highlight. I'll keep this brief. I know you've got a long meeting tonight. So this master plan really kind of the highlights, the things that were critical in here. So we wanted to update the existing water system information. What do you guys have? Obviously, there's been new developments. We've replaced water mains. Getting that information into the township's database, so you guys maintain a GIS database of all your water assets. So getting that in, reviewing the existing demands, and then projecting what do the 5 to 20-year demands look like for the township. So looking at the population data, and just where are we going from here? Hydraulic modeling, so kind of taking those two first pieces, where are your assets? What is the population doing? What do the demands look like going forward? Generating a hydraulic model with that information and really seeing how the township's water system performs. The next step, the last two are kind of, asset management. So if we take and look at, the criteria, the service criteria, how do we expect the township to be providing water to the residents of the township? And then kind of looking at the risk, the overall risk. What are the high risk portions of the township system? And then finally using the hydraulic model, the asset management, really saying, from a capital improvement planning perspective, where does money need to be spent going forward? Where are we going to spend the limited funds that we have? So I guess really real quick, just want to start off with the location of the water system. I'm assuming you guys aren't specifically familiar with where you guys operate the water system. Obviously the utility service district, Gettys to Clark, the primary area from Ridge over to LaForge. That is the main portion of your service district and the portion of the water system that you guys control and operate exclusively. So there's 2 feeds into the system. In the very top right corner, you have a connection to the Great Lakes Water Authority that passes through Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority, Yucca, into the township. And then in the very bottom left corner is a connection also to the YCUA system, and you guys maintain an existing pump station at that location. So really those 2 locations are where water enters the township's water system. You also have an emergency connection down at Clark and Dawn. And then to the west, so just kind of shifting just west of the area we looked at, there's 2 locations I want to highlight there. The St. Joe Hospital. So on that property, really there's private water main, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky. Private water main, the township does maintain, so if there's a water main break out there, you guys will respond to it. Right? No, okay. Private water main, sorry, I was misspeaking, misunderstood that there. So that they're basically directly fed off YCUA. And then the northern portion there, up off Gettys, those 2 subdivisions off Towsley Lane, Woodlands and Gettys, those 2 subdivisions are fed directly off Ann Arbor Township, ultimately from City of Ann Arbor. Really, the township has very little control over pressure and operation of these. Those are really dictated by Ann Arbor Township, YCUA, even though they lie in the township. 2 quick maps here, water system age, and then the next one here that I'll touch on is material. And these really play hand in hand. Obviously the central core of the township there, Stanford, MacArthur, those areas are the oldest portions of your system. So 40s, 50s, 60s. Some of those are some of your largest water mains as well. And you work out of the central core there that I was just referring to, and you're generally talking 90s, post 2000s. And as you look at the materials, which plays into the age, so those older mains, the ones that are pink, yellow, asbestos cement is the pink, the yellow cast iron. So some of the older materials that were in use way back when, much of the modern stuff, ductile iron, and then you have a very little bit of HDPE. So as we get into the asset management side, you'll see that these older mains that are asbestos cement, that are cast iron, those are really your high risk assets, your assets that are at risk for problems going forward. As we work through the modeling process, the hydraulic analysis, so really saying, how much water does the township use? Reviewing the billing data, looking at really three numbers here. Average day, so on an average day over the course of the year, township uses about 620,000 gallons of water every day. Then from a modeling perspective, we're kind of running two other primary scenarios. So max day, so on your highest day in the year, how much do you expect to use? And that's about 1.5 million gallons. And then on that highest use day, what is the highest use hour? So that's the peak hour number you see on the right there, a little over 2.2 million gallons per day. And then we took a look within the service district, what do we think those demands are going to do over the long term? 5 years out, 20 years out, we're seeing about 15, 20% increase. And that's primarily based on SunCog data, but also the developments that we do know. This is just a snippet here. So this is, I referenced that max day scenario on the previous slide. So in that max day scenario, this is what the model is outputting for pressures. Generally good, no issues. The only thing that we noticed on this as we ran through and verified the operations and looked at all the data, the very northwest portion of this, we are seeing less than desired pressures. And ultimately in working with Ricky, it's just a matter of changing set points at the booster station. We're going to be working with him to optimize pressures. It's not a long-term issue. It's not a concern. It's something that can be altered. But it was something that as we worked through the modeling process, we determined that we needed to make changes. So turning from the model then kind of the technical side over to the asset management side. So that's really looking at, obviously the township maintains a lot of underground assets here and then several above ground assets on their water system. But really wanting to know the overall risk to the township. You can kind of equate that to a monetary risk. So you're looking at probability of failure. How likely is something to fail? And then ultimately also the consequence of failure. So if it does fail, how bad is it going to be? And so there's a bunch of categories that kind of feed into this available information that we have on the water system that we can use to build this asset management model of the township system. So obviously I showed you the age, the material, those are very big factors in how likely it is to fail. And then we're also taking into consideration the main breaks. So Ricky lets us know where he's had main breaks in the system. A main that's failed already is likely to fail again. And then obviously on the consequence of failure, the bigger the main is, the critical users it serves, the more important it is. So I think with that, I just want to show kind of two maps from that output. So this, you can see here, we're kind of focusing in on that central core, the older portions of town. The markers on here are water main breaks. And then you can see the probability of failure going forward. The Stamford main, certainly that's one of your largest mains too. So unfortunately, Stamford, the main that runs along there is not only one of the most likely mains to fail, it's also one of the worst mains that can fail because it is one of the largest and carries predominant amount of the township's water. So as we look at overall risk, so just kind of combining the previous slide into this and getting an idea of where, what assets have the most risk. for the township. It really boils down to Stanford and MacArthur. A lot of those smaller neighborhoods, while they may have had one break, those are fairly low risk. They're easy for Ricky to repair. And so they're not jumping out as much when you kind of boil down where should you be focusing your resources. And that, I guess with that in mind, we kind of turned to the capital improvement. So I took a snippet out of the report here, basically the top 4 mains or projects that we are recommending in the near term. 3 of those 4 are on Stanford. The other one is actually tied into a sewer project that's a high priority that is driving the desire to also replace the water main at the same time. So between those 3 projects on Stanford and MacArthur, there's about $5.9 million in costs there to address those. We have been looking in coordination with the township at potentially going down the state drinking water revolving fund route. The problem is there's a lot of money filtering into that from the recent infrastructure bills. Everyone wants to get a piece of that. And there are a lot of communities that have applied for this round of funding. The unfortunate part for the township is a lot of the new scoring criteria that they're using for that program, the township doesn't qualify for. You unfortunately have no lead services. That is a big item that gets a lot of points in their new scoring. There's no consent order. You guys don't have any major issues that have got caught in the eye of the state. The state said, hey, you need to fix this. Your system actually overall is in pretty good condition. So that's a downside. You're not getting points that other communities are getting there. And the final piece, which we did dig into, was that the township doesn't qualify as a disadvantaged community. And I understand these projects, Stanford and MacArthur, they're in areas that likely would qualify as disadvantaged. But unfortunately for DWSRF, they want to look at the township as a whole. They won't dig down into where specifically that project is. So I guess going forward with that $5.9 million in kind of projects that we feel are fairly high priority, the township is likely going to need to bond or use utility funds. I think I hit on a lot of the points here. The funding, the Stanford 1940s asbestos cement, a lot of breaks. But overall, honestly, your system's in good condition. You're in good shape for serving the needs of the service district 20 years out. We didn't see any major issues other than addressing those key pieces that are aging. They're getting quite old, 80 years already on some of them. And then, as I mentioned, the system operations, just working with Ricky to optimize operations of your pump station. So, Ricky, do you have anything maybe on the water main breaks and kind of that side of things to comment on?
Yeah, I'm Ricky Harding, the superintendent, the water department. I just want to expand on the 16-inch water main breaks that we had last year, and we just experienced one this year, actually a week ago, on a 12-inch, which is the old transmission line that used to be connected to the old booster station that was on Getty's, which was demolished. But we did leave a line coming from Getty's through the behind Mission, I think it's called Superior Woods, Mission something, Mission Point. Yeah, so it's coming through the woods back to Stanford, the new part of Prospect Point East. So that line finally broke. It was an AC main. And so I just so happened to see it on the skate. I got alarmed, seen it, noticed it. The guys went out, located it, and the pressure is back up in 30 minutes. But that's a line that I'm gonna have cut and capped because it's not even useful. But coming up between MacArthur and Stanford, Burke and to Norfolk, that cast main that we had a lot of breaks where people, if you live in the district, you notice the pressure drop, no water. And most of the time it happened like 2 in the morning when we out running around trying to figure out, okay, what valves we need to shut, isolate to get the pressures back up. But this main runs in the middle of these yards. In one area is like 8 to 10 feet off the garage. So between Stanford, MacArthur, and Norfolk, I would if at all possible, tackle that. I would like to get quotes, which I'm gonna get a quote come March 1st with a contractor to see what we can do, because that needs to be done. That it should have been eliminated years ago, or at least a plan in place to get it out of there. Because you got a 16-inch main, when it goes, it's gonna blow your whole yard up. And then you turn up driveways, sidewalks, so you spend a lot of money. And it could be dangerous, you know, in the middle of the night, somebody come out of their house, don't even know, and fall into a hole or something. But I'd like to get a quote, when I get a quote, my suggestion would be the township buy the material, because if the contractor buy the materials, they do that 20% up charge on you. So if we purchase it, we can have the stuff in the yard. If we can get approved to do this, just that small section, which is 1,300 feet of pipe. And I would suggest boring it, use HDDP pipe, to where you're not tearing up a whole lot of stuff. You dig in potholes where you make your connections. And I like to move that main from the middle of those yards tight to the sidewalk. So there's two control valves that runs across from Hamlet and Manchester onto Stanford. I like to move those across the road to Manchester and Hamlet, to where I can bring that pipe tighter to the sidewalk, and then it'd be away from the people's homes. But I think it's something that should be really considered and looked at.
So we can just be clear, we're talking about, the water main that runs from the intersection of MacArthur and Stanford down to Norfolk.
Norfolk, that's cast.
Right, and it's in the front yard.
It's in the middle of the
And
yard,
you're looking for what, between the sidewalk and the curb, or just closer
No,
to the sidewalk?
closer to the sidewalk.
Because I did request, the road commission to give us a bid to repave that
Mhm.
this year, because the road's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But, I'll talk to you, whether we need to coordinate on that at all, or we maybe should delay that for, if we're gonna, thinking about doing this project.
Yeah, because on that main, we had 4 last year, and then we just recently had 1. And, you know, I like to
Yeah, right.
like to take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, at least before I retire.
You know, we got nothing time.
Ricky,
Yes.
so we'll let you bring something for next board meeting? A plan?
I could bring some,
Or a quote?
yeah, a quote.
Because he's gonna do that on March 1st. He's gonna find a quote on March 1st,
Yes.
and then you'll come to the board.
Yeah. And that main that broke just recently, I'm cutting and capping that because it's not useful.
So Ricky, there's gonna need to be some surveying or engineering that needs to be done on this?
No,
No, how about easements?
nope, it's all in the woods.
Oh, okay, yeah, over there, but on
Stanford,
you were talking about, all right, so I got 2 things here. So you're talking about ordering the materials for in the
Stanford.
woods where the old pump station.
ordering the materials for the Stanford job.
Okay.
And, if you guys approve it, we'll start ordering those materials that we need. If we can't do it this year, it'll be next year, we can do it next year. Just so we can have the material on site, because for that size of main, it's hard to get materials. Because in one incident on Stanford, between Manchester and MacArthur on Stanford, we had to cap the main on each end and chain link 5 houses so they can get water off each other. And that lasted a week because we couldn't get parts. We had to order parts from California, and that cost was ridiculous. Just because it's so hard, materials is hard to get right now for that size of main. So if there's something we can do,
So if we're gonna move it, do you know for a fact, or do we need to find out if we have utility easements along that sidewalk? Because we have it in the road right away, but generally the easements for the road for water might only be 5 feet wide, and I don't know what they are there, We can
whatever,
find that out.
yeah, whatever we need to do just to get it out of away from those people's homes. That's like really close.
There'll be a lot of restoration. Well, you're gonna do.
Well, bore.
You're gonna bore.
Yeah, that'd be some,
Minimal.
yeah, minimum.
All right, thank you, Ricky and Chris. That takes us to our next presentation, Gettysburg Pathway Tap Grant Project and status.
Yeah, so just a quick intro here, and this will be just a quick summary, quick update, not a full presentation. But As you know, we've been working on we've started the final engineering for the TAP grant on Getty's Road to construct a new 10-foot wide shared use pathway. We've started to get into coordination with the road commission on certain aspects, and I thought it'd be good to just update the board on some of the items related to easement acquisition and also give you an idea of what the schedule would be based on the funding. So Claire Martin is here. She's our project manager for the project, and she'll just provide a quick update.
Yeah, so I think George provided you with a memo, so anything that I say here you have in writing already. It's got the full schedule already on there, so you don't need to remember any dates that I'm saying. So basically, because of the funding source of this project being through the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is run through the state, through MDOT, and has a federal source of funds through FHWA, there are some extra requirements that need to be done for these types of projects, in addition to what we would normally have to do for a pathway project. And two items in particular tend to affect the schedule the most. And I know you're all eager to get the pathway completed. So I just wanted to run through a brief overview of those two requirements and why they affect the schedule, and then what we think a realistic schedule would be. And those two things are the environmental requirements that we have to do for the pathway. So the federal source of funds requires a NEPA process through the Environmental Protection Act, and the bat species in Michigan require that we need to cut down trees only during a certain portion of the year. So from October to March is the only time that we can cut down trees on a federal project, unless we want to go through and do a bat survey of every single tree, which is not usually feasible for these projects because it usually is feasible to cut trees during that time frame. And then the second fact is the easement acquisition process. So this pathway in particular, there's 5 parcels that we believe will need a small easement, either permanent or a grading easement, a temporary easement. And because of the funding source, again, and the partnership with the road commission that is needed for that funding, since they're the Act 51 agency, the road commission and their agreement with the township, which I believe is on the agenda for later in the meeting, part of that agreement states that the road commission is going to be responsible for doing the easement acquisition. So they have to go through that whole process and make sure that it meets MDOT's standards. They have to certify the right of way with MDOT, and part of that is requiring an appraisal of the property, and that alone takes about 2 months, and then they have to certify it to MDOT, get it approved by MDOT. So it's a relatively lengthy process, and that has to be done. Let's see, I think it is a minimum of like 3 months before you could award a contract to get that right-of-way certification to MDOT. So as you can see, there's some like pretty big time buffers that are needed to get an MDOT TAP project through the system. And so talking to the road commission, we believe that for this project, a reasonable time frame would be that they could get right-of-way done within 5 to 8 months after we get them preliminary plans. So our target date is getting them plans in March so that we can get the right-of-way to MDOT in August. That would allow us to get a contract awarded in the end of 2023 in December. And then we could cut down trees as a part of that project. Alternatively, if that gets pushed back closer to the 8 months, that would push us outside of the bat window for the MDOT project, but that doesn't kill our schedule an entire year. What we would do in that case is create a separate bid package with the trees in it, just the tree clearing alone during the winter months, and then do the MDOT project separately. So either way, we're looking at spring 2024 for getting started on this project, and the next winter for clearing trees. It'll just be a matter of finagling which portions are in MDOT projects and which portions are led through the local bid system. So, like I said, all of those dates are in the memo that was sent to you, with the bolded dates being the right-of-way certification and the construction award that I just mentioned. So the other dates in there are just like internal milestones with the MDOT process. They have to review it a few times to get it through. So.
Yeah, we went through this Prospect Road
Mhm.
path and, working with the road commission and MDOT, it can be a lengthy process.
And I believe that one did not have right-of-way acquisition and this one does, so, because it was done beforehand on that one.
When
So-
we, in the process of trying to condemn the old Fairfax Manor, the owner gave us the easement prior to the closure,
Oh,
which we got co-easement.
Mhm.
That saved a lot of time.
yeah, yeah, so because of the timing, we've got to go through that
Right.
process with the road commission, and that'll change it, but that's, yeah, unless there's any other questions. I think that-
And finally, we have, the AD ramp, we got high off. Can you do that?
So with the ADA ramp project, we're in the process of designing it so we can bid that project out later this year. As we're moving through the engineering, there's a few questions that have come up that I believe we need some clarification on from the board in terms of how to proceed with the scope. We wanted to touch on those tonight. We may not be able to answer all the questions here, but at least you'll see some of the questions we need clarifications on, and we can work through them in the near future, or we could discuss them here tonight. So I'll let Kyle run through a few of those items.
Yeah, hopefully you guys can all see this text. These are just like the display boards before. Let me know if you want me to zoom in. But before I get into this, the main question, and this was like an email that was going around like a month ago or so, was just this project. We currently have a TAP application in the system right now, and it hasn't yet been awarded, but hearing back from SEMCOG representatives over there, they're still interested in the project, but I just wanted to let you guys know that this would put, if we want to pursue the TAP and get those funds, then that would put us into a 2024 construction. Just want to make you aware of that. I know that there's two separate projects in this area. One is the sidewalks that are going to be replaced separately. And then this project is specifically for ramp enhancements. So just wanted to get your opinion, thoughts. Do we still want to pursue the TAP grant, which it's a significant amount of money, or does the township want to?
Project.
Yeah.
Estimate in your cost about $400,000.
It's like 512 right now. So it's like a $400,000 grant.
I think we should pursue the cap.
Right. And then it just pushes construction.
It pushes it back a
Yeah.
year.
Right. And
It's still $500,000.
I say 2024, and then if things happen, it could be 25, but it looks like 24. So if we're good with pursuing TAP, we'll keep going through that process. Because that just depends on who we go through at the county, getting approvals to them. Okay. All right, so now we can hop into some of the other questions that we had. So there's a general overview memo too with more description on here. Hopefully you guys have that. If not, I can email it to you too. But in these areas, we just wanted to figure out some extra connectivity if we wanted to include that with as part of this project, or if there was any reason not to include it as well. I know like some were kind of extensive design issues too. So the first one in the top left, let me just zoom into it too if I'm having a hard time. So this is Harvest Lane and McIntosh. As you go around the bend, looking like south right here right now, you can see on the right side of the screen that there's sidewalk exists and then on the left sidewalk exists, but there's no crossing. And this is kind of like a little pathway that goes into the neighborhoods to the north. That's the HMA pathway on the left side of the screen. Does the township want ADA ramps here? And knowing that there's also some down further on Wired, and we'll be replacing those. Do we want an additional crossing?
Well, personally, I think that area has a lot of seniors in that area.
Yeah.
And I think that we do need those ramps for this area.
Okay.
Myself,
Yeah.
because there's a large number, percentage, at least 50% of people down there every time.
Okay.
And, they needed to be able to walk, safely walk.
Okay. And like George said too, we don't have to make the decision tonight. We can just kind of throwing them out there. Might not have seen them all right away, but we'll proceed with that for now. And then if we hear something different, we can go over it. Then. We made it. All right. So I'll just go over these two together as well. Oh gosh, this isn't going as well. Hold on. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, maybe I won't zoom in anymore. So the top right and the bottom left, these are two areas, MacArthur, and then there's the neighborhood to the west of MacArthur. You can see that the sidewalk stops short of MacArthur Boulevard, and it also doesn't cross the existing street. It's either Buckingham or Glendale. The question here is, do we want to, one, add a crossing across Glendale and Buckingham with ADA ramps? And then two, do we want to add one more crossing across MacArthur? So if we do a crossing across MacArthur, it'd be similar to the one at Stanford, at least at this time, that's what we would assume, with high emphasis pavement markings and just the PED sign, pedestrian sign at the crosswalk. So that's just my general question there. If we extended, we'd likely have to do more detailed survey and then go through county approval to do that too.
Well, my opinion is there's really, no subdivisions were built out. They never did all the connections at MacArthur with the sidewalks. So all the sidewalks stop short and except their stamina. And so, you gotta walk on mud in the winter. So I think they all need to be connected themselves. Because we're not talking about a major crosswalk going across MacArthur. We're talking about painted lines and pedestrians. I think all those streets that lead from Oak Brook and Washington Square that go to MacArthur, especially on the Oak Brook side, because they have the path on the other side, need to have some connection.
Okay, so you would definitely connect them here, and you would want to pursue a connection across MacArthur then?
Yeah, pedestrian crossing, fancy painted sign or paint. I think you can do striping and pedestrian signals.
Not a signal. Like at this, I mean, just my opinion right now, it'd be the high emphasis pavement markings and a sign. You'd see a high emphasis yellow neon sign. And it'd be just like the one at Stanford. Okay.
Brenda?
It's not my turn to talk.
No. No, we're not done with our. We're gonna do it.
And then the item to the bottom right, this is Clark Road and MacArthur Boulevard. So this is like kind of like the south edge of where the project limit was. And the first question here is, do we want to include this in our assessment? Do we want to update these ramps here? I know a lot of this was HMA, but there are concrete ramps here. And then if you head east across the north side of Clark Road up to Devon Street, there's like 4 or 5 more crossings of side streets, roads and stuff. Do we want to include all of those ramps?
Aren't those already concrete?
They are, but they may not be updated ADA compliant ramps. So I think that
There's a lot. There's hundreds of people that walk there every day and ride their bikes, especially down to even some of these. Go to the grocery store, the little store over there.
Yeah.
I just don't think we need to do anything going from here to Clark,
right across Clark.
Yeah, so we're talking at the most just replacing and doing some maintenance on.
Yep. Then this brings me to my next board. We've got a couple other items here. So the top pictures, this is Manchester, Manchester Drive, and then the top left is gonna be Buckingham. Buckingham is like this main through street that kind of goes through the subdivision. So right now, and I guess as of it looked like 2014, Washington County Road Commission had replaced these two existing ADA ramps across Manchester, but there weren't any added across Buckingham. There's one at the northeast corner of this intersection that's not ADA compliant, but there's a ramp to nowhere. So I guess the main thing here is we would recommend adding ramps at all sides of these. So we would add an additional receiving ramp on the, I guess we'll call it the southwest portion, and then a brand new one at the northeast and also at the southeast, connecting the sidewalk in all four quadrants.
So, just so that I'm clear, are you
Yeah.
talking about put them in here?
Yeah, yep, mhm.
But this side has no sidewalk connections, they're driveways. Where are they gonna lead to?
So there's a sidewalk that runs, it's on the south side of the road, and it just goes all the way across, so we would connect it all the way.
So you connect it to their yard?
Yeah, up, yeah.
I mean, that's the only place you can cross, I guess, you know, there's no crosswalk on any of those, Manchester, Norfolk. What do you think, the board, think that,
When you say connected to the yard, then right across the street, they're gonna have to walk in someone's grass?
well, there'll be sidewalk there, but it will cut into.
Right, we would have that.
So it would cut where the red is on the grass, that would be replaced with sidewalk. But that allows you access across the street from across Buckingham.
Right, and then this would be typical of
Both
sides or just one side?
Smooth path.
you could do either, the increased connection, I mean, it just depends if you want people crossing the street twice or if it'll fit in once. I mean, it's a low, traffic volume, low speed road.
In my opinion, I'm speaking for the board, I think we only need one there. And then, you know, if somebody really wants to get across the street, do it right, they can just cross Manchester and then cross Buckingham.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then we'll take this kind of same idea, because there are instances where this occurs in other locations. All right, and then,
Comparison of apples to apples or apples to orange in other areas.
so it'd be pretty much apples to apples there, just as far as like, if you have a three-way intersection and then you have one, I mean, there's just two crossings essentially is what we're getting at. So a three-way, just make there two pedestrian crossings. And then in the top right is also Manchester, but there are like 4 courts, just dead end courts along here. So right now, the courts have sidewalk and ramps that go across them that we'd be upgrading and enhancing. That's just part of the existing program. However, I wanted to show this picture because we were looking at increasing connections across Manchester, which is like your main drive. And you can see that there's dirt, and like this is cones, and this was back in, image was from 2014. So it looked like the road commission, when they repaved the road, took the ramps out and didn't put any in. I just wanted to confirm that, I mean, there's gonna be Buckingham's at one end, and then I can't recall the other street at the north end, but there will be connections and ways to cross Manchester, but we just wanted to confirm that we wouldn't be adding more intermediate ones at all the courts. Or if you guys wanted to add them, we certainly should do.
Well, I think that's something that we probably decide administratively, if you present those and we can spread them around. You know, we want to get the program done, we want the TAP grant to pay as much as we possibly can. And we want as much connectivity as we can without overdoing it.
Yep.
Like the one on Glendale, they're putting 2 sidewalks kind of in those 2 yards. I think that's kind of a little overdoing it, you know, on the south side.
Okay. So we can look at those more specifically, or maybe I can send like an email and show you like how many 100 feet it is from each one.
Yeah.
Just to know where the crossings are. And then the last 2 images here, This is Stanford and MacArthur. So the couple issues that are happening here, one is there's a drainage issue. If you look at the bottom left corner, water just ponds here. There isn't anywhere for the outlet. There's no catch basins on this radius. And then there's all this, all the earth behind the pavement here is burned up too. So we just, well, there's that issue. Then the other issue is that there's no pavement markings. So that was kind of the point of this right picture. You can't really see them, even in this zoomed in one to the left. You can see that the pavement markings have kind of scraped off. So one is, do we want to update the pavement markings? Two is, do we want to do like a full survey and then engineer some sort of drainage improvement?
I think they should be identified. We go to the road commission and ask the road commission to paint those for us.
Okay.
You know, not as part of a contract. That's their responsibility.
Okay.
And really, I think we just gotta notify them and work something out with them, and they'll eventually, their signal group will get out and we'll do it.
Okay. So then as part of this, just let the road commission know that, hey, there's a
I think we
drainage issue.
identify the ones that need to be restriped, and then we let the road commission know and work with the road commission to get them.
Standing water is the big issue,
Yeah.
sitting on that curb line.
Standing water.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking
Is that
about
gonna
right
be-
here?
Yeah. No, to be the northwest corner, actually.
Oh, up there?
To the
Yeah,
west,
that's
just the west
awesome.
side of it. If you're looking at the right, if
Right.
you're looking at the right picture, the west side of it. But if you,
Yeah, oh, I see. Well, the road commission should fix that one too, to be honest with you. We had the same problem down at, Harvest Lane, not Harvest Lane, but, Wire and Russet. And, they went and re-engineered and fixed it for us, so I think that's something I should put them on notice about, see what they can do. Because I was gonna, bring it to the board as one of the possible projects was to start there and work our way down Stanford to at least Norfolk. So I'm getting a bid from there, from MacArthur to Norfolk, and then from Norfolk to Barrington, just to see the two big sections and then see if the board wants to take one of the two. And if we took one of those, they could correct that at the time that they were gonna repay.
so then as part of our project, if that ramp currently is not ADA compliant, so we wouldn't touch it as part of ours, because they might come back later and just redo that for us.
Right, so we'll be bringing something to the board probably in April or May on that. I already requested the road commission to give the board some prices on some of these subdivisions that are in the worst condition. That's one of them right there. And if the board is to accept that, they would correct that problem with repaving.
Yep, okay, and then they could update the ramp set.
They can update the ramps and they can also do the striping at the same time.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, George, Sarah, and Chris, and
Ricky.
everybody else. All right. So that's done with that. I got, our reports here. I'm gonna keep mine super short. Lynette and Lisa, I think we met with the Big School DDG a couple weeks ago, just got an update on what they're doing. They are getting ready for doing the farmer's market again this year, have the classic cars, the typical thing that they do every summer. Tom will be bringing the amusement permit, I think for the next meeting. For the next meeting. And then I had a meeting with the county parks regarding the Highland Preserves, which is the park that pump station sits on. And we originally had a grading easement with them for 1 year because that's what we thought it would take, 1 year. Well, obviously we've blown past that in time. And they would like to get some of their land back. And I talked to Fred about this. And I've asked Fred to ask LaSalle to get all of their equipment out ASAP. And what the park is, and I think that we can coordinate with George on this, or OHM, is they would like to have some of that parking back where they can have access to get in there and build some bridges and a few other things that they want to do back there. And have maybe, they only want like 6 or 8 spots. It's not very big. And then maybe on the far east side where the trailer is now, we could get some stone down there and get it set up so they can at least park a few cars there. We have to put a fence dividing a construction zone from a parking zone. But I think we can do that. And they are going to be forwarding to me a new easement, for temporary easement for construction, probably for next month. And so we'll renew that. They're also gonna ask for a few, add-ons because it's taken so long. And, so they only planned on having 6 or 8 car parking down there. And, we already agreed, we'd build them a stone parking lot down there, but they're gonna ask us if we would asphalt that as part of the consideration for the extension of the easement. I told them, go ahead and make that request. I don't see that it's unreasonable by any means. We really cut their park off from use by the public for 2 years. You know, it should be open. Get it open, and Fred needs to get LaSalle to get their people out, and their equipment.
We're gonna raise that when we talk about it with.
Yep, okay, we can do that. And that concludes my report, so we'll go on to liaison reports. If we could just have a motion to receive Bernice's report.
So move.
Support. Does anybody want to comment on? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving, say aye.
Aye.
Community Center Advisory Committee update. Do you have anything?
It's gonna be real quick. If you want the report, the minutes are online. The full report. So I'm just gonna briefly go through some highlights of that meeting. It was on January 31st. Greg Dill, our administrator, has been attending all of our meetings. True believer, and I really believe that this project is going to happen. We're very excited about it. It'll be a combination, more than likely, of a community center and a YMCA. So Kayumi, who is, I see one shaking his head. I got it. No, she is the CEO and president of the Ann Arbor YMCA. They both gave reports. Greg's report was basically that they are in the process of negotiating the land for Cheney. There's a concern about Cheney retaining some semblance of the name. And Tony did make a comment that across the country, there are some YMCA's, community centers that still have another name attached to it. So that is a concern of the community and also a concern of the Community Center Advisory Committee. We had our Commissioner Annie Somerville present, and she gave some comments. She did state that we have 4 people that are close to us that are on the Appropriations Committee in Lansing. Jason Morgan, Jimmy Wilson, Jeff Irwin, and Sue Shank. So, you know, we're going to need some funding for this project. So we're excited to have those that we are aware of as part of the committee. We did come up with 5 committees, but we did this way before combining and knowing that there was going to be a YMCA connection. We established the committees back in August when we did our 3 retreats. So those committees would be community engagement, facilities, partnerships, programming, and resource development / fundraising. So we're gonna have people leading those committees, and anyone who is interested and making sure this community center YMCA become a reality, please let me know if there's a committee that you would like to work on. And I'm gonna stop there. That's basically it for now, based on time. But there's a full report about it.
Do you have a report tonight?
No, nothing.
Yeah, nothing. All right. We move on.
For the first time.
Can I get a motion on the departmental reports for building, fire, ordinance, sheriffs, and parks commission?
So
Support? Support. Anybody want to comment on any of the reports that you see?
No, not this month, but are we gonna get someone from the sheriff's department?
She was coming tonight, she can definitely.
Oh,
Yeah.
right next week.
okay.
Lynette, excuse me, not me.
Thank
Well,
you.
based on that.
So, seeing No additions, subtractions, or omissions. All in favor of receiving, say aye.
Aye.
And that takes us down to the treasurer's investment report. I get a motion to receive.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Anybody have any comments? Lisa, do you want to address it? Your report, investment report? You're good? Okay.
It's self-explanatory.
Yes, it is, ma'am.
Yeah, I mean, very self.
All in favor of receiving the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Takes us down to communication. We have a communication from Meals on Wheels. I get a motion to receive.
So,
Support.
All in favor of receiving that report from Meals on Wheels, say aye. Any comments? Then we have a memo from
the Parks Department is starting.
the day flyer. So, I get a motion to receive that.
So moved.
Support. Is Juan, do you want to talk about that at all?
Just, just so we've got the same date, Superior Day was very big in this community, and unfortunately because of COVID, we were down for a couple of years, so, bigger and better, and, Lisa and I have started to meet and get things lined up, so, we'll have more information for you in a report probably in a couple of months, but, we'll start getting dates out to the community very soon.
Okay. Any questions for Juan? Seeing none. Okay, get a motion to receive the planning and zoning administrative memo.
Support.
Any comments on it? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving, say aye. All right, that takes us to unfinished business, the master plan for the city. Next, what is it? My understanding.
We haven't had any.
Yeah, I haven't had a meeting. My understanding is Carlisle Workman is waiting on getting some information on the census.
Which is available through SIMCON.
Maybe I'll talk to Ben about that. All right. Then Oak Brook signed bids and signed more, so we have completed the claim. We actually found some, I told you this already, we found a company that would duplicate what we have.
Yeah.
Came in at $27,000, duplicate both sides. So it's in now, it's being reviewed, by the insurer. And we should probably have an estimate, or not an estimate, an approval or a denial or whatever in a week, I would say. If you get the approval, which I expect to happen, we'll just, I'd like to be authorized to sign the contract with the company and let them get planning. Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, fine. Well commit, for Dixboro Village, we had something on the regular planning, regular resolution on that. So anyway, what had happened is on permit from the county to the well at the village green. They claim that there's still an open file at DE and Eagle regarding the tanks that were buried at Gibbons Antique Stores that were removed, to the best of my knowledge, 20 years ago. Lance is here, Lance Pierce. I think you saw them removing it, right?
Yeah, many years ago.
And the one act says it's closed, and the other one says it's not closed, but you say open. So they're requesting that they put a casing around the well that is not normally required. So we put in for a request from Fridley, what is the additional cost going to be for that, and we'll bring that back in March. So that's that. The conversion of the old library and speaking quarters, I think we have something at a regular board meeting tonight, a regular agenda to deal with that. We got evaluate continuing contracts with TAS and OHM. I think Lynette and I will write a letter to the board tomorrow on those, if you guys can wait for tomorrow. Yeah. The rock property programming date for a special meeting. I think we should wait till Bernice comes back and set a date for, I would call it maybe a work session. You know, so we can get some ideas. The first thing that we have to do, we might do a special meeting. We have to put a conservation. And then, you know, after that, it can be developed over many, many years because we're gonna own it for forever. And, the question I think would be whether you want to work jointly with the Parks Commission on this, or you want to take this on as a township project, or you want to take it on, give it to the parks if they're willing to accept it as a parks, development project with reports back. That's something we'll have to decide. First thing we need to do is we need, and I'll have it for next month, is a conservation easement that just basically allows no one, the board, not to split or develop the land, but can be used for passive recreational purposes, just like their Cherry Major. It'll be basically the same. And then the sign easement from Tom Lawson. Fred, have we heard from Mr. Lawson?
Joe Lloyd today, who's the attorney for Mr. Lawson. Apparently, Mr. Lawson's not back. I asked him, but we just need to get, I asked him if he could just send the thing down to Florida, email it, or overnight it to him, get it signed, and tell him, we just want to get this over. So, I mean, he still, his client has agreed to it, he's just not around.
All right, I just have to make a quick reference to the, thank you, Fred, to the resolutions tonight. All right, Chief, I got ahead of ourselves. So as far as old business, you have the floor on the conversion of the old library space into sleeping quarters. I'm sorry, I thought that was on the regular board meeting, but it's not.
Okay, so at the last board meeting last month, the board asked me to come back with figures of a budget. I finally got the person that's doing the shower area and stuff to send that to me last night on his cost. And then I emailed the board the letter this morning. So I'm sorry it came in so late, but that's the only item I was waiting on. So the carpet cleaning for both the old quarters and the new sleeping quarters was $688. We do that every year. We come in, they clean station 1, they clean the carpet at station 2. So this has been done, and it's already been done. Painting of the renovated area, $2,700. The painter had a time restraint to get it done because he's got other contracts he's got to fulfill. So he went ahead and he did the painting for us. Wall dividers in the 4 beds, $3,635. Station alerting system for the bedrooms. This includes the flashing lights, the speakers, and the wiring to run and all that stuff, $3,400.45. Electrical upgrade for lighting, that's to make it all LED required, $4,987.07. The shower to be installed, $8,950. That's to renovate 1 bathroom inside there and break out the floor and put the drainage in and run all the pipes. The new furnace was $4,850. We discovered after the library had moved out that the furnace was not working. It had cracked heat exchanger, needed to be replaced. So we did that. The twin beds, mattresses and box springs, $5,872. So the total cost to renovate that area is $35,082.52. And we have funds available out of the fire building reserve. We have like I think it's $193,000 in that reserve. So I'd like to please go ahead and continue with this project so we can
get our firefighters into the.
So chief, that showers is for one shower head or two shower heads? Like, are you getting two showers or one shower?
Just one shower.
Just one shower.
There are two bathrooms
Right.
in there, and they're really small, so when he came out and looked at it, we decided to use one shower, because there's only two guys there during the day. So we changed one of the bathrooms into a shower with the vanity and sink. And, you know, doing all the tile work and everything, and the flooring and all that.
So we've abandoned one of the restrooms, converting it into a shower.
Yes,
locker room,
yes.
and the other one will continue as a bathroom.
Correct.
So Chief, I think we need that in writing, because we never approved anything yet from the board. So what you just gave to us, we need in writing so that we can, you know, approve it. And you were supposed to work with Juan Bradford as it relates to a restroom for,
I haven't seen Juan because my wife's been in the
I know.
hospital, so I've been really,
I know.
the past 3 weeks have been terrible.
Juan, have you made any
Yeah,
progress?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Juan.
I haven't spoken to you, same reasons, things been dealing with. I did, speak with and meet with, a representative from Neo Construction. They're the group that did primarily the construction of the library, about putting a bathroom towards would be the north end of the building. Was able to, thanks to Laura, the building department, find some, original plans for the building, so I give you a copy of those too. With the original plumbing plan, so there's water throughout the building, but there's sanitation on the south side of the building, so getting something to the north side of the building is gonna be a challenge if it can be done. It's probably gonna be cost prohibitive, but we're looking at them to give us a price on how we can get it there and alternatives.
So that's down the line then. A few months down the line before you have a firm plan in place and.
I hope to have, I had hoped to have estimates from him back this week, but if I don't hear from him by the end of the week, I'll reach out again.
So you're looking to add a room to the footprint?
No, a space within the existing footprint. There'd be no footprint added.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we should go ahead and approve, a motion to allow the chief to move forward, well, not to exceed 36,000. Did you say it's 35,000?
35,000, $82.52.
I think we should let them go. This is a health and sanitation issue down there for the firefighters. And, it's gonna take a month or two to maybe get this thing all done. And I think this needs to be done as soon as possible.
I need that in writing.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I just feel like we need things in writing
Thank
with
you.
contracts before we go, oh, yeah.
I
Then if something goes-
I'm sorry.
I do have all the quotes, but I just put it in a letter form this morning and emailed it to everybody. So.
We don't have.
I don't have it.
Ken doesn't have it, you maybe thought you did, and I understand, but we don't have it.
Email that to us
I
today?
emailed it this morning,
Don't have it.
so.
Don't have it.
Yeah, every time it's out.
All right.
I responded to you.
Yes, yeah.
I think we should still approve it, subject to you just getting us a copy.
I will do that. I'll get it to you tomorrow.
Is that satisfactory? We really can't use place. They need this space to be able to do that. If I could get a motion from somebody to allow the chief to proceed, not with the contract, not to proceed, exceed 36,000. And we'll print as conditions to present to me or to Lynette, whoever needs to sign the proposal, or you, chief, you sign the proposals and give us copies.
Okay.
That would be a condition. You can do that tomorrow.
Okay, we'll do that.
All right. So I support. So support. All right. Is there any discussion on this?
I still like contracts. Because if something goes wrong, if we have nothing in contract, we've approved $35,000.
They're individual companies that are doing this. I have the quotes.
They still owe you contracts
Or
that they're going into with requirements, because who's to say that they say they're gonna start and they can get it done in a month, but if you're not under a contract, this could be going on next year. So.
He's got the contract. You can get it to us tomorrow, right?
Yes,
Chief?
yes.
Yeah,
I'll get
so, but we can't wait
You
until
said,
tomorrow.
yeah, well, that's not.
Well, you gotta sign it, send it back, right?
Right.
All right, I'll call the question. You call the roll.
You guys got it.
Haviston, absent. Linky, absent. McGill,
Yes.
Seagrass.
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Lewis,
Yes.
Benway, hesitantly, yes.
Mhm.
All right, chief, yes.
Thank you.
So give us all a package of that
I will get it.
tomorrow, and we'll email it to the entire board. Okay. And make sure that they get it, and I know you've been dealing with some tough times the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I hope the best for your wife, we're all thinking about her.
Thank you.
Okay, that takes us down to, sorry that I let you out of there, chief. That takes us down to resolution 23-4, resolution to make, fire marshal Dan Kimball permanent part-time. Can I get a motion on this? So support. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None, no, it's unanimous. All right, so we'll tell Nancy and have her check off, show him part-time. There's no change in the salary or anything.
I think is there a change in his salary to
No, there's
none? Okay, thanks. There's a typo somewhere.
All right, that takes us to resolution 23-5, resolution for programming contract with CLR.
Juan and I have dealt with, CLR and have come up with a contract. There's a change. We added that provision in there, with regards to insurance, after taking the CLR.
Yeah.
So it's already been added in, so I've got another copy.
So this is different. than-
Well, it's only one there. I'll tell you exactly what it's.
Did you do all this while you were sitting up?
Yeah. I did. If you look at Article 8, that's the only difference. And full harmless notification of insurance. Other than that, exactly the same. And DLR is here and represented now, and yes.
You know, I think we're probably all in agreement on this, but you need a presentation.
Yeah.
All right, so can you get a motion? Next one is resolution, 6, that's with the youth arts. Brad, that had the same.
Made amendment, put in it. Now, I will tell you, we've not talked to you, sir.
Okay, so the motion.
Support.
Okay, with that change, all in favor of supporting this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any, sounds like there's unanimous on that. Takes us down to resolution, 23-7. This is the resolution that is required by MDOT for us to work in the right of way when we get awarded the paving bid for the parking lot down at Fire Station 1, because they'll be working in the Ford Road.
Move resolution 2023.
Support.
And this is their resolution, this is how they want it done. All right, so moved and supported? Supported? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, all in favor of approving the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is down to resolution 23-8, which is the resolution to approve the contract with DTE for lighting along Harris Road. This will be adding light fixtures to existing poles so that we can have better lighting on Harris Road.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With to develop a community farm and qualified services in the qualified services track. Now, the only thing I say is I heard it was really well received at the planning commission, but they wanted a minor site plan. So minor site plan. So the question was, would the board out of the ARPA fund give OHM the money to develop a little bit of a plan so he can submit it to the planning commission next month and get that. We can make the contract subject to the approval of the minor site plan, but I know he doesn't have money to do that. So, I don't know what it would cost OHM to do that, George. Small minor site plan.
Does it have to be OHM?
I don't
we
really
put
have
that
an
out for
idea of
bid?
the exact scope.
It could be, you could have done it if you could get scale.
I don't understand the scope exactly.
Did somebody do this for me? Where's TC at?
I think this should be the charitable donation.
But TC, who did this plan? Who did this?
TC.
Yeah, there's somebody that's from Bono.
This document you gave us, who is that a survey company that did this?
Did Jan do this picture for you?
No, the gentleman, he's not here tonight, his name is Steve. He did that plan.
Okay.
All right,
Oh, this is.
so you're gonna submit this to the planning commission next month?
They already looked at it, and they gave thumbs up.
So
So they can, well, so the only thing that they.
The only thing that Laura's report said that the planning commission said it may need a zoning change.
Yes, that's the only thing that we have to work.
Right, so we need to like at least send it to the planning commission to have that resolved. We can approve it subject to planning commission review.
That's everything.
All right, so, do I have a motion or resolution?
No.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Support.
All right, so the motion is to approve the community farm subject to whatever site plan you devise, PC, you're taking that to the planning commission, ASAP, and get it approved, and let them determine whether it's gonna need a zoning change, a conditional use, or you can do it as a permitted use under the existing ordinance. Okay, so, you can talk to Laura about that tomorrow, and I will get this submitted right away.
Gentleman that was the planning commissioner, he said that he's willing to work with us to come up with a compromise to make sure we have the right zoning.
You're talking about Mr. Gardner or you're talking about Ben Carlisle. He's talking about, he's talking about Ben.
Yeah, Ben Carlisle at me, the planning commission would like to see a minor site plan. So, Ben had expressed that, he would be able to meet with Laura and myself and Mr. Collins and work on getting that accomplished and see what those steps are and how much of a detail it needs. There may be a zoning reissue for one of the parcels of property. There's three, two of them are permitted, one of them is we're still looking at, one of them may be.
If you're creative, you might be able to make it.
Yeah.
Right, but we don't wanna be blatant, cause people will come back and say, oh,
Yeah.
you did this. But if you're creative, I think, cause I looked at it with Laura, I think there's a way you could do it, the way that TC presented that would avoid a zoning issue. Okay, so we'll approve this, so they don't come back to us again. Condition upon the planning commission making a determination that you're all go. And if they say you're all go, you just notify me or Lynette, and we'll take it from there.
Perfect.
Okay? Are we all agreement on that? Okay, are we ready to vote? All in favor of, resolution, 2339, say aye. All right, any opposed? No opposed. So resolution 2310, resolution to accept the for. Kind of like that. I did have one question. You told the board at the last meeting that you just weren't gonna have any animals. But.
We're on to dinner now, and that's moving.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Lisa.
So we're on 2310.
Yeah, and when that's reported, I will do.
I'll talk to you later. Big deal. So this is a resolution to accept the proposal for correction of the drainage field. Yeah. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right. Resolution to accept the proposal OHM 23, 11 for the residential site public repair system field marking service. Can I get a motion? Support?
Support.
All right. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. And then the next one is, motion to accept the invoice or to approve the invoice for the tree stump removal. You have. Yeah, so you got the pictures. Right. And then on the last page is the invoice or the proposal.
Where is it?
Looks like this.
Oh,
On the last
okay.
one, behind.
Okay, forward. Right here. Yeah.
Okay, so we found out, and I talked to the contractor. Okay, he's gonna send us a new one, but the last one was a 1550 harvest land, and we moved 2 maples and cut it to ground for 1200. Well, we found out that's an employee of the township's property. And I didn't know if the township wanted to do that or not. You know, it's a tenant there. So, well, you know, I mean, county does it all the time. But
We're not the county.
we're not the
We're
county.
superior.
All right, so that 1200 would be deducted. That wouldn't happen. Okay. So the
You
code,
told me anyway that.
I called for it, submitted, I called today again.
You were in agreement that it should be.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's my understanding that the new proposal, then the total will be $1,800.
Yeah, 1,800.
I agree. I support it.
Yeah. Okay, so just for the record, 1550 harvest land, that's struck. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Did anybody support it then?
Was there a motion? All right, we need a motion.
Oh.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And this is, next is the motion to approve monthly pay of park and recreation trustee.
Okay, may I make a comment?
Yes.
Okay, I just have to say, I'm in favor of someone being paid for something that they did, but I just want to know, when did this begin? Because when I was a trustee, I did not receive additional pay when I sat on the ZBA or the NDOT. And I wasn't paid for that, so I'm just wondering, when did this begin? That's my question.
I think it's being proposed to start now.
Oh, okay, so
And
then
then
if
go
it's
forward. Myself.
well, wait a minute, wait a minute,
Okay.
so let me, so if it is to start now, then we're not, okay, yeah, just as long as it is starting now, it's not going to be any retroactive, because of so, then I would like to submit a.
Right.
I would like to submit it.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
So board members who have actually been voting members on boards have been paid. But I think Lisa has not been paid for ZBA.
No.
But like Nancy was paid for wetlands.
No, and I asked you about it, you told me I wasn't supposed to get paid. You asked me? Yes.
You get paid for it.
Yeah, people get paid for
I mean, you get paid for that?
Yeah, and I've never gotten paid for a ZBA when I was a trustee and still don't get paid yet, so.
I think we should table this and let the sponsor come back and tell us why. And we need a little more internal discussion on this because I tell you, I just think it's part of the public service, not, you know, to volunteer myself. And, you know, I mean, I'm on SimCog, what would I get? I wouldn't take it.
I think
You
they're
know.
talking about the board.
For trustees that are on
Yes,
committee
yes.
on behalf of the township.
Okay. I think we should table and let, Bernie present. You know, any objections to tabling it to the next meeting?
That's your time.
Deadline, all right.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion to table to the next?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, no discussion on motion to table, all, it's tabled. All in favor, say aye. So that was, so this is Gettys Road Pathway Agreement, this is the road, this is the agreement that we have with the County Road Commission. They will oversee the project along with MDOT. We're not really involved in it except when it comes to payments. And this is like a little bit of the confusion on the Prospect Road. Some of it came out of this because we didn't get our final reimbursement until November of last year, even though the project was, you know, completed. You know, a while back. So this is not, it's not for us to get involved in this, but we have to sign off on the petty, on the halfway.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Then this is the motion to approve Planning Commission Dixboro Design Review Board reappointments. So,
Support.
okay, so this is, Naheed and Jay Gardner for planning and projected now, for, Dixboro Design Review Board. And Lynette and I are on that, one also. So, all in favor, or can I get a motion to approve?
Yes. And I support
Okay,
it.
all right. All in favor of making those,
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The next one is a request to approve reimbursement from the TNA fund, Infinity Homes.
And TNA is trusted agency, just.
Right. Mary, you want to address this? Do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
You want to address what this Scarlet Oak one?
Okay, so basically, the Scarlet Oak, I think it's 10. I can't hear you. 10559 Scarlet Oak Drive, which was built by Infinity Homes. There was a water leak in the lead going to the home. And Infinity Homes had promised to repair the leak all the way up until the end of November. The leak had been going on for quite a long period of time after the resident closed on the home, and Infinity decided they did not want to make the repair. And after they had communicated with us directly that they would make the repair, and with the homeowner that they would make the repair. So what basically happened was the leak had progressed and became worse. And the township, the utility department repaired the leak because it was promised by the customer, by Infinity and us, that it was going to be taken care of. So it was repaired, and now we found out that there was the TA fund from some money that happened to restore money that was paid out of our capital reserves. So that's basically what happened. So we're asking that the money be taken from that money that was held by the township for Infinity Homes to be paid back to the utility department for making the repair.
I would just suggest one thing. I think the development agreement requires us to give notice in a 30-day cure period. So we can go ahead and approve this, but I think Fred needs to take a look at it and just look at the development agreement on this and make sure that we have complied with that to remove the bond. So we can approve it and let Fred take a look at it.
That's fine.
Okay, okay, all in favor? Do we, I didn't know.
No,
we need a
no.
motion. It's really just an administrative process for it. And so Fred will take a look at that and we'll advise us. All right, motion to accept proposal for the Dixboro Village Green appraisal by Paul Bidwell. The board has requested this. I guess we do an appraisal on the village green that the church owns in anticipation that perhaps we would make them an offer. We have the right of first refusal under our current contract agreement. And Paul said he can get on it. And you know, it's a weird property to assess and to appraise. But he said he should be able to get it done in 6 weeks. So $3,000 is the fee. So if I could get a motion, do you want to talk about something?
Well, I'm gonna wait for that. I wanted to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, you made the motion, though? Yes.
I support.
And you support it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The gentleman, and then, we have,
Can we go back to that? I don't feel comfortable with how we left, the payment for the water leak. to the home.
Right.
We didn't make the motion and we didn't.
Right,
We
so-
didn't. And I think we should do a contingent on Fred's.
Generally, Lynette, it's handled by the clerk and supervisor and treasurer on the bond. We've only done it one time. But all I wanna make, yeah, it's usually done administrative, but all I wanna make sure is that they don't have the defense under the development agreement. Because generally under development agreements, when something, you're gonna tap a bond or you're gonna put them on, you gotta put them on notice and they gotta cure period. And that's all. We might have to send them a letter from you saying, hey, and see what they say. So, that takes us to the O, which is, to be a motion to retain the law firm of Dinowitz, Vitiglio and Sassy, and this is for the purpose of representing the township on a contract dispute that we're having with LaSalle Corporation, and we're gonna sue them for damages. So Fred?
Yeah, I did some investigating after our last meeting. And everywhere I spoke to, everybody told me that you want fair and great representation on a contract case at a good price. This is the guy, and I know him, I've used him personally as a facilitator in contract construction cases. This guy's an expert. This is what he does around that. And, I mean, I've talked to probably 10 lawyers and everyone says, well, if you get Ron Dental, that's the guy you want. And, I have spoken to him. I provided you with a copy of his, fee schedule. They are, you know, if we went to some, like, one of the silk stacking firms, you'd be paying like at least a third more than that in terms of fees. So he's very, what I think would be market value. And for what he does, there isn't anybody better from what everyone's told me. So I would urge us to retain his services, and I would also indicate that I would like him from now on to deal, you know, because we want to speak with one voice. I think he should be our voice to LaSalle.
I agree, because I think we need some consistency.
Right, I agree.
I really want to get a good itemized damages. I think that damages that we have suffered in the township because of their negligence on
Emotional
contracts.
Emotional.
All right, so can I get a motion for the retainer? All right, let's just do a roll call.
Harrison absent, Finley, yes, Lewis. Yes. Blinky absent, McGill.
Yes.
Secrets. Schwartz.
Okay, that takes us to bill for payment and record of disbursement. Can I get a motion, please? Any questions on that? Seeing none, all in favor, if you pay the bills and record of disbursement, say aye.
Aye.
This is pleas and petitions. Brenda, did you want to say something? You were inquiring about something earlier.
Yeah, they were giving a presentation on those crosswalks, and it happens to be areas where I walk, those places. And
Me too.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Specifically, at Glendale and MacArthur, I crossed MacArthur there twice this morning. And there are the sidewalks on either side of Glendale, we just come to a brook end there. On the other side of MacArthur, of course, you have the non-motorized path on the other side of the, but you have to cross MacArthur to get there. But what we also have on the other side of MacArthur there is a bus stop. And I think that's an important reason to have a crosswalk there. That's what we're going to MacArthur. Then it's, since there's two corners, I suppose you should go across Glendale to get to, if you're on the wrong corner, to get to where the crosswalk across MacArthur is. And I think that it's the corner that you use north is the southern corner, but I'm not sure about that. But I want to point out especially about the bus stop because isn't accessibility one of the issues tied to some of these funds?
Yeah, so another issue about the bus stop, I brought this up for many years, is that we should put slabs down there so people are standing in the mud. So why don't I get a bid or this, whatever the standard slab size is, and so that see people down there at this time of year, they're standing in and water. All right, Brendan, we appreciate your. You got one more?
Yeah, you had a slide up there at the intersection of, Manchester and Buckingham.
Okay.
And if you make ramps coming off of either side of Manchester where it's the intersection of, Buckingham, on the other side of Buckingham, there's nothing there. It doesn't align with anything, there's nothing. And I just wanted to say that what happens in real life for people that are walking and making that cross, they will go diagonally between the existing driveways
Right.
to one or the other corners of Manchester.
Well, we said to them to go ahead and put in one sidewalk on the south side there, but not two. So there, it's gonna be for one side. Make the connection.
Because that, there was talk on the slide when they were talking, it sounded like there was talk about there's driveway, and putting a sidewalk in between the two driveways. Who's ever yard that is, even though it's public right of way, I wouldn't be too happy about
Yeah,
that.
but we have it elsewhere. We have it elsewhere. You know, that's, I wouldn't like it either, but we have it in a few other places where things didn't align on curved roads. There's a few where they have a sidewalk in the front yard going from their sidewalk to the curb. There's a couple of them, but we gotta make it safe for all people and not just people who live there. So, okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wants to?
I have a question. I don't know, she might not have a microphone because she typed it in. This is from Debbie Covington. I said, this is from Debbie Covington. She asked, how many women and minority contractors does the township employ for various township service, construction contractors for firehouse renovations, sidewalk repairs, and other maintenance services, etc.?
I think we can get back with Debbie.
Okay.
We have to do it now.
I'd love to see that myself, because I've asked that before.
Okay, is anything else? Yes, Juan.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring something up real quick, kind of a meeting you and I had, Ken, with Ipsy Township, Parks and Recreation. It was brought up in, Superior Township's Parks and Recreation Commission, a couple months ago about township residents using Ipsy Township's community center. And would it be possible for Superior Township residents to get the resident rate? That's Ipsy Township. So we've had some discussions. I've met with their director over there a couple times, and Ken and I actually toured the facility 2 weeks ago, maybe. So they were able to give me a little bit of data on user numbers and what the rates are. There's approximately 1,300 Superior Township residents that use that facility, and typically a non-resident rate, which would be us, pays an additional $10. So if it's $20. It's $30. If it's $150, it's $160.
For person or family.
Yeah, for or a 1 day program or an event or something like that. So, and then the non-residents also pay a little bit more for golf. It's only $2 a round. And for gate fees, we don't have all the numbers on gate fees. Gate fees would be using their paid gate parks. So we're still looking for numbers on that. So roughly, it's about $7,000 to $9,000 that combined is spent over and above a resident rate for non-residents of Superior Township. So we kind of talked about, would the township be willing to come up with a rate, you know, that they are happy with because it's their house, that we're happy with because we would be paying it, to be able to give Superior residents not a resident rate.
Can we get all of that in writing to see the numbers, like to see
Yep,
everything?
yeah, you sure can, yeah.
And I think we can get a better
Yep,
decision.
yep. So, and my reason for bringing it up is, was just that. Is there interest? I'll keep pursuing it. If there's
Yes.
not interest, I won't.
Keep this on.
I would say
Okay.
definitely keep it.
So we'd be paying the difference between the resident, non-resident rate for those 1,300 people on probably an annual basis or whatever.
Yeah, so, you know, they would
Probably
be,
7,000 or 8,000 a year.
yeah, and it would be like a lump sum at the beginning of the year. And yeah,
I toured the facility. I'm quite impressed.
yeah, they got some nice things going on with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Juan.
thank you.
Okay, so, yes, Lance.
I just had one thing about the bill grant. Can you expound on that a little bit?
About what?
The village green motion.
The appraisal?
Done, and the township's position on that, and how that came about.
Well, when we signed the use agreement with the church, we asked for a right of first refusal in the event that they wanted to sell. At that time, we were under the impression that the church would have to go to their archdiocese to get permission to sell it, which was a bureaucracy something. Then, Ken Schaefer, who is like the deacon or the dean, or, I'm not sure what his position is, but he got a position with the church. He talked to Tom Freeman and said, hey, the church has lost a lot of membership. They don't really have a use for that property on an ongoing basis, but they would probably be interested in selling it, and they discovered they don't need the diocese permission to do it. So the purpose of this is to try to figure out what the value of that green would be, and if it was something we could all agree on, bring it to the board, and if we acquired it, it'd be acquired as a Dixboro. Which right now, we have the use of, but we have no ownership rights, and then that would change things about, alcohol and things that have been banned under our current, use arrangement within it. It would free us from that, but it would become one of our assets. That answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Seeing none, we're adjourned.
So, support. Right, see, and me, yeah, right. I gotta take it a long way.